A strong hold over current affairs is your way to succeed in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Brace yourself and get detailed coverage of relevant news both nationally and internationally. With the monthly current affairs revision program starting from 26th October at 5 p.m. Enroll today and elevate your current affairs knowledge with comprehensive coverage of current affairs compiled through relevant sources such as the Hindu Indian Express, Economic Times, PIB Yojana, and others. Expert support and personalized mentoring. Comprehensive assessment through MCQs and mains-oriented questions.
Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. RBI and SEBI issues framework for reclassification of FPI to FDI. International Carbon Market Standards agreed at Conference of Parties COP29 of UNFCCC in Baku. Global Carbon Budget Report published by Global Carbon Project during UN's COP29 Climate Summit. Niti Aayog CEO pitched for India's membership in RCEP and CPTPP. Government is creating adaptive defense in India to deal with emerging challenges. Raksha Mantri. Unlocking the power of healthy longevity, demographic change, non-communicable diseases and human capital. Report by World Bank. In a significant development aimed at simplifying forest investment norms, the Reserve Bank of India or RBI and the Securities and Exchange Board of India or SEBI have issued a new framework for the reclassification of foreign portfolio investment or FPI into foreign direct investment or FDI. Let's break down what this means and how it could impact foreign investors and the Indian market. Currently, foreign portfolio investors can hold a maximum of 10% of a company's total paid-up equity capital. If an FPI exceeds this limit, it faces two options: either divest the excess shares or reclassify them as foreign direct investment. In case the FPI intends to reclassify its FPI into FDI, the FPI shall follow the operational framework. Under the new guidelines, however, there are a few key conditions. First, reclassification to FDI is not allowed in sectors where FDI is prohibited, such as chit funds and gambling. Additionally, FPI investments require government approvals, especially from land-bordering countries, and need Indian investee companies' concurrence. And these investments must comply with Indian laws, including sectoral caps, entry routes, investment limits and pricing guidelines, and other attendant conditions for FDI under the rules. The reclassification process will also be governed by the Foreign Exchange Management, Mode of Payment and Reporting of Non-Debt Instruments, Regulations of 2019. This means the entire procedure will follow established rules to ensure transparency and regulatory compliance. So, why is this important? Well, the new framework aims to make it easier to attract foreign investments into India. By providing more flexibility for FPIs to transition to FDI, it offers greater flexibility to FPI to transit to a more strategic investment and offers greater clarity and transparency for foreign investors in the Indian market. To understand FDI a bit more, it's important to note that foreign direct investment involves foreign investors acquiring stake in a company or project promoted by an investor in India. Unlike portfolio investments, FDI is usually a long-term, non-debt capital flow, helping to bring more sustainable investment into the economy. There are two main routes for FDI approval: the automatic route, where non-resident or Indian company does not require any approval from the government, and the government route, where proposals are considered by the respective administrative ministry or department. In conclusion, the RBI and SEBI's new framework aims to streamline foreign investment processes, enhance clarity, and potentially attract more capital into India. This is expected to benefit both investors and the Indian economy as a whole. In a major development at the 29th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change or COP29 held in Baku, international carbon market standards have been agreed upon, marking a significant milestone in global climate efforts. These newly agreed standards paved the way for a centralized carbon market under the United Nations. representing a landmark step towards finalizing negotiations under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. But what exactly does this mean? Let's break it down. Article 6 of the Paris Agreement provides a framework for countries to pursue voluntary cooperation in meeting their climate targets. This allows nations to transfer carbon credits earned through reducing greenhouse gas emissions to other countries, helping them achieve their own climate goals. The article consists of two key subsections, Article 6.2 and Article 6.4. Under Article 6.2, countries can engage in bilateral or multilateral agreements to trade emission reductions or removals. These traded credits are known as Internationally Transferred Mitigation Outcomes or ITMOs and are measured in carbon dioxide equivalent or CO2e. Meanwhile, Article 6.4 establishes the Paris Agreement crediting mechanism, aiming to create a global carbon market overseen by the Article 6.4 supervisory body or 6.4 SB under the United Nations. The credits under this mechanism are called A6.4 ERs and can be purchased by countries, companies, or even individuals. At last month's COP29, the standards for this carbon market were officially proposed and agreed upon by the supervisory body for Article 6.4, setting the stage for further implementation. Now, why are these agreed standards so significant? First, they unlock financial support for developing countries, enabling them to access crucial resources for climate action. Second, these standards help ensure long-term market reliability and provide a clear framework for post-credit monitoring, making the global carbon market more trustworthy and effective. But what exactly are carbon markets or carbon pricing instruments? Carbon markets allow governments and non-state actors to trade greenhouse gas emission credits. There are two types: compliance mechanisms, which are managed and enforced by governments, and voluntary mechanisms, which are managed by independent standards or non-governmental organizations. In India, both types of mechanisms are already in place. The country has a compliance framework called Perform, Achieve, Trade for Energy Saving Certificates, and a voluntary offset mechanism under the Clean Development Mechanism or CDM. To conclude, the agreement reached at COP29 in Baku is a major step forward in the global fight against climate change, ensuring a robust, reliable, and financially supportive carbon market that will help nations meet their climate goals.
At the UN's COP29 Climate Summit, a critical report was released by the Global Carbon Project, the Global Carbon Budget Report. This report provides a stark look at the state of our planet's carbon emissions and the chances of meeting the Paris Agreement's goals. According to the report, if emissions continue at the current pace, there is now a 50% chance that the global average temperature will consistently exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit within just 6 years. In fact, this year may mark the first time that this crucial 1.5 degree threshold is breached. But what exactly is carbon budget? The carbon budget refers to the total amount of carbon dioxide emissions allowable to limit global warming to specific levels. In this case, the Paris Agreement's target of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Let's turn to the report's key findings. This year, fossil-based carbon dioxide emissions worldwide are set to hit a record high of 37.4 billion tons. The largest contributions to these emissions came from China, which accounted for 31%, followed by the United States at 13%, India at 8%, and the European Union at 7% in 2023. Together, these four regions contribute 59% of global fossil carbon dioxide emissions, with the remaining 41% coming from the rest of the world. On a more positive note, global emissions from land use changes such as deforestation have dropped by 20% over the past decade. In addition, reforestation and new forest growth have managed to offset about half of the emissions resulting from permanent deforestation. The report also highlights that land and ocean carbon dioxide sinks absorbed nearly half of the total carbon dioxide emissions, despite facing negative impacts from ongoing climate change. Now, a quick background on the Global Carbon Project or GCP. Established in 2001, its aim is to track trends in global carbon emissions and sinks. It's a critical measure for assessing our progress toward the Paris Agreement's objectives. Each year, the GCP publishes global budgets for the three main greenhouse gases: carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. In a strong push towards bolstering India's role in global trade, the CEO of Niti Aayog has called for India's membership in two significant trade agreements: the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP and the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, known as CPTPP. Currently, India remains one of the few countries not part of these large trade alliances. These agreements primarily aim to reduce trade barriers and foster reciprocal investments. They do so through tariff facilitation as well as by harmonizing standards for environmental protection and labor conditions. So, what could be the benefits for India if it joins these pacts? For one, joining would be a boost for micro, small and medium enterprises or MSMEs, which currently account for 40% of India's exports. Membership could provide MSMEs with broader market access and opportunities to compete globally. Moving on to the global supply chain, joining RCEP and CPTPP would also help India integrate into the global supply chain, which accounts for about 70% of the world's trade. This could also allow India to harness the China Plus One strategy, enabling companies to reduce their reliance on China. Right now, high tariffs limit diversification away from China. India would also stand to gain from an increase in productive capacity. With easier access to imports, India could see job growth, higher profitability for the private sector, and improved capacity utilization. On the political front, joining RCEP and CPTPP would give India a chance to shape the emerging trade architecture, especially in areas like e-commerce, aligning it with global standards. However, there are some concerns. Eliminating tariffs could lead to a spike in imports, potentially worsening India's trade deficit. Stricter conditions on labor and environmental standards may challenge Indian enterprises, especially those less competitive on a global scale. Additionally, there's opposition from India's dairy sector, which fears competition from more industrialized nations, particularly within the RCEP framework. So, what is the way forward? A revisiting of past agreements using a data-driven approach might help India navigate this complex global economic landscape. Furthermore, prioritizing long-term goals such as self-reliance, job creation, and strategic autonomy could guide India's path in engaging with such trade agreements. Let's now take a quick look at the details of these trade agreements. RCEP includes 10 ASEAN members: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, the Philippines, Laos, and Vietnam, along with 6 other partners: India, China, Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. On the other hand, CPTPP is a free trade agreement among 11 nations, including Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Peru, Mexico, and New Zealand.
Moving on to the next news for the day, the government is taking significant steps to enhance India's defense capabilities, introducing a new strategy called Adaptive Defense to deal with emerging security challenges. This announcement was made by Raksha Mantri, who emphasized that traditional notions of war are being reshaped by new technologies and evolving global partnerships. As a result, an adaptive defense strategy is necessary to stay ahead of these new threats. Now, what exactly is adaptive defense? Simply put, it is a strategic approach where a nation's military and defense systems continuously evolve to address emerging threats effectively. The core principle of this strategy involves a proactive mindset, where the focus is not only on anticipating threats, but also on adapting, innovating, and thriving amidst unpredictable circumstances. For adaptive defense to be successful, certain capabilities are crucial. These include situational awareness, flexibility at both strategic and tactical levels, resilience, agility, and integration with futuristic technologies. This approach, according to the Raksha Mantri, is not just about protecting borders, but about securing India's future. It is designed to address both traditional challenges like armed aggression as well as non-traditional threats, such as drug trafficking and the growing menace of information warfare. Speaking of which, emerging technologies are becoming a driving force in modern warfare. One of the most critical aspects is information warfare, or IW, where nations use networked information systems to gain an information advantage over their opponents. Cyber warfare is a prime example of this type of warfare. Additionally, lethal autonomous weapon systems, or LAWs, are becoming a reality, with these systems capable of engaging targets without human intervention once activated. This opens new dimensions in combat that were previously unimaginable. Looking even further ahead, technologies like lasers and electromagnetic railguns are being explored for space-based attacks on satellites, representing a new frontier in defense strategy. Moreover, synthetic biology is also becoming a concern, with the rise of crimes such as illegal gene editing, biohacking, and cyber biocrime. As these technologies continue to evolve, so too must India's defense capabilities, ensuring the nation remains secure in the face of these complex and rapidly changing threats.
In our next news, we will dive into the World Bank's latest report titled Unlocking the Power of Healthy Longevity, Demographic Change, Non-Communicable Diseases and Human Capital. This report highlights demographic transformation as a key challenge to human capital and well-being. It also underscores how addressing major non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, could contribute significantly to achieving healthy longevity. So what does demographic transformation mean? It refers to the shift in mortality, fertility, and population growth patterns from high to lower birth and death rates. Higher longevity, on the other hand, is about reducing preventable deaths and disabilities throughout life, aiming to maintain physical, mental, and social well-being well into older age. Now let's turn to the key findings of the report. NCDs, chronic conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, are a major factor here, causing more than 70% of global deaths every year. With current projections, the total number of deaths could rise sharply from 61 million in 2023 to 92 million by 2050. Focusing on India, the report reveals some concerning trends. For instance, NCDs during childhood can lead to a reduction of about 1.2 to 4.2 years in completed education. Another challenge is the high out-of-pocket medical spending, especially on travel costs. Moreover, life expectancy is notably lower among the least educated groups at age 15, with higher death rates between 30 and 69 years due to NCDs. In response to these findings, the report offers several key recommendations for promoting healthy longevity. It emphasizes a life course approach to NCDs, stressing prevention and management, while also calling for policy reforms across labor markets, social protection, and long-term care. Additionally, the report suggests using fiscal tools such as raising taxes on health-damaging products like tobacco to curb NCD prevalence. To put NCDs in perspective, these are chronic diseases that persist over a long duration. They are often driven by factors such as rapid unplanned urbanization, globalization of unhealthy lifestyles, and an aging population. Here in India, the National Programme for Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Diseases and Stroke, NPC-DCS, under the National Health Mission, focuses on NCD prevention. In today's Place in News, we will be discussing the Russian Federation with its capital in Moscow. Recently, the first Deputy Prime Minister of Russia visited India to attend the 25th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation, or IRIGC-TEC. Now let's explore a few key facts about Russia. The country spans Eastern Europe and Northern Asia, making it the largest in the world by land area. It shares land borders with Norway, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland via the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad Oblast, Belarus, Ukraine, Georgia, and Azerbaijan to the west, and Kazakhstan, China, Mongolia, and North Korea to the south. Russia's maritime boundaries include the Arctic Ocean to the north and the Pacific Ocean to the south. In terms of natural features, Russia is home to the Ural Mountains, which serve as a boundary between Europe and Asia, and its highest peak is Mount Elbrus. Moreover, its rivers include Dnieper, Volga, Ob, etc. Now talking about lakes, it includes Lake Onega and Lake Baikal, the latter being the largest freshwater lake in the world. Russia's Bering Strait borders Alaska in the USA, and the surrounding seas include the Baltic, Caspian, Okhotsk, Black Sea, and more.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. 2000 megawatt Subansiri Lower Hydroelectric Project on river Subansiri, located at Arunachal Pradesh, Assam border, is set to be commissioned. Subansiri River, also known as Gold River, is a trans-Himalayan river originating from the western part of the Mount Porum in the Tibetan Himalaya. Department of Atomic Energy plans to construct a 1 GeV particle accelerator to convert India's abundant thorium reserves into nuclear fuel. High-energy proton accelerators are used to create neutrons for breeding uranium-233 from thorium. Breakthrough on advancements in drug delivery inside cells through nanotransporters. Nano birdflower-shaped gold nanoparticles improve the efficiency of intracellular delivery and in treatment of cancer. Defense Research and Development Organization, or DRDO, conducted the maiden flight test of a LRLACM. Designed as a successor to the Nirbhay cruise missile, it has a range of 1,000 kilometers and can be launched from both mobile ground launchers as well as from ships. Home Ministry approves first all-women battalion for CISF. CISF is an armed force of the Union established under an Act of Parliament, Central Industrial Security Force Act 1968. It's the only force with a customized and dedicated fire wing. Recently, Vice President emphasized the importance of Kutumba Prabodhan in society. Kutumba Prabodhan refers to family enlightenment and is a co-principle of India's culture. Recently, NFRA recommended the revision of standards on auditing, aligning it with the global standard ISA 600. NFRA was constituted in 2018 under the Section 132, Clause 1 of the Companies Act 2013, with the objectives to continuously improve the quality of all corporate financial reporting in India. Union Ministry of New and Renewable Energy released latest data from October 2023 to October 2024 on India's renewable energy sector. One of the major achievements is the increase in total installed capacity, increased by 24.2 gigawatts, reaching 203.18 gigawatts in October 2024. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, please visit the provided links in the caption.